welcome back to my channel. This is Christina at Homeschooling Grace, and today's video is a collaboration. I'm so excited. It's about homeschooling with baby and toddlers. Yay! I have been asked actually a couple of times to make a video about how to homeschool with babies and toddlers, you know, at your feet while you're trying to homeschool. And I saw this collaboration come up on a YouTube group that I'm a part of, and I was so excited. Because I was like, perfect, I've been needing to do this. So this is by Shauna at World of Washabout. So thanks so much, Shauna, for setting this up. I'm super excited to be a part of this, and I will have a link to the playlist so that you can go and see everyone else's ideas and tips for homeschooling with babies and toddlers. All right, so let's hop in and talk about homeschooling babies and toddlers. So I wanted to start out a really sweet verse that really helps me during this time, you know, when you have babies and toddlers and you feel like you still have to get it all done, but it seems impossible. Well, the Lord is so sweet and tender. He has put these words in His Word. Isaiah 40:11. He tends His flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in His arms and carries them close to His heart. He gently leads those that have young. Isn't that awesome? I just think that's so sweet. He gently leads us along. He's not pushing us like, come on, Mom, get back to it. He gently leads us, and He goes before us. He's not driving us to get going. He leads us, and I just think that's so sweet. And we need to be gently led when we have these little ones. So I kind of broken it down, homeschooling with the baby and homeschooling with the toddler, because I feel like they're kind of two separate things. Sometimes you have both, and I have had both, and it's hard, but you know, you can totally do it. So homeschooling with a baby, I find that homeschooling with a baby is pretty easy. I am so uncomfortable after pregnancy that once I have the baby, I'm like, I can do anything. Like, I feel so much better not being pregnant, that I feel like we can typically take just a couple days off from school and then hop right back into our normal schedule. But do take some time off after having a baby, okay? Don't just like hop right back in, because again, remember, he leads us gently. So don't feel like you have to get right back to the books. Give yourself time. Allow God to kind of guide you during that time. And when you feel ready, start gently. Like, don't go full force in. I would do, you know, a little bit here or there. Maybe read alouds are always easy to be done still at that time. And God shows us grace. So again, be gentle with yourself. And then do school when baby naps. That's like my number one tip. When the baby's napping, and if you have the energy, do school then, because that'd be the easiest. Or even, you know, if the baby's awake and is okay, you know, sitting in a bouncy seat, or if you can wear the baby, and feel like you can still get stuff done, then do that. I could never nurse and do school at the same time. And I'll be honest, my first 3 I nursed, and my last 2 I did not. I think my first 3 burned me out from nursing, and so my last 2 were just bottle fed. And so that made it a little bit easier because it kind of became a family event to feed the babies where siblings could help, and so that kind of made it fun. But, you know, do what works best for you and your family. I don't know why I'm getting onto feeding. That doesn't have anything to do with homeschooling. Oh, I know why it has something to do with homeschooling. It's hard to nurse sometimes and homeschool, because if it's in the early stages, early days, it takes a lot of effort to get them fed and latched and everything. And so again, just if you have to just put on an educational show, just put on an educational show. For the older kids, they'll be totally fine. Okay, so that was pretty much my tips for homeschooling with a baby. You know, take time off, show yourself some grace, allow God to show you grace, do school when baby naps, or, you know, wear the baby and do school then. Typically you're going to feel a whole lot better than you did when you were pregnant, and so you're going to have a little bit more energy to get stuff done than when you were pregnant. Okay, so moving on. So with homeschool with the toddler, these are my tips. Just give up. Just throw in the towel. I'm just joking. Okay. No, don't give up. I think homeschooling with a toddler is probably the hardest time to homeschool, especially if they're between the ages of like 1 to 2. It's super hard. They don't take direction well. They want to be the center of attention. They just make messes because they're just curious about everything. Everything's curious. They're putting papers in their mouth. They're tearing up kids' paperwork. It can be chaotic. So my best tip is to be flexible with your schedule. Again, do school when the toddler, I should call it a toddler now. We still call our toddlers babies. School when the toddler is napping, or even at bedtime. A lot of times during that time, when my husband will get home, we'll do dinner and then we'll go back to doing school because it's too hard during the day because the toddler's so busy, and if she's not sleeping well during the day or napping, we don't get a chance to even get school done because she just needs constant attention, and if we go up to the schoolroom, she'll destroy our stuff, or the papers, or get into stuff, and it can just be really difficult. So a lot of times we'll do it at bedtime, and nap time is when we'll do our schooling. Drop what needs to be dropped. That means, like, this last year we totally dropped science because with the toddler I could not get it done. I had such limited time to get school done during nap time that was always the first thing to get dropped off, or music would get dropped off, or art, all those kind of more extracurriculars. If you can make it work with, like, maybe dad takes over some of it, and again in the evening or on weekends, and totally make that work. But if not, someone's like using a chainsaw. But if it doesn't, it's okay. Just let it go. And the next year, just that toddler will be a little bit older, and maybe you can fit back in science and art and stuff. And a lot of times, those type of subjects you can do as a whole family or group with the children. And so, like, at lunchtime, we would bring them all together. And if the toddler's older, then they can kind of typically sit a little bit longer, have a longer attention span. Do that. Again, a lot of grace. You got to give yourself grace. Let the Lord show you grace. Just be gracious during this time. It's not going to be perfect. Your house might be destroyed because maybe an older sibling has to watch the toddler during the time so that you can school one of the other kids. So we would do that sometimes. My oldest would watch the toddler so that I could get school done with, let's say, my preschoolers or my my first grader at the time. And so typically we were rewarding in some way for babysitting. I know you don't have to do that, but we kind of felt like, depending on how much time it was, she was deserving of a reward. So anyways, just allow, an older sibling to watch the toddler, so that's another way to get school done if the toddler is awake. And that was super helpful as well, especially if the toddler was willing to go with the older. Sometimes they weren't. Another option is bringing them into the schoolroom and just allowing them to kind of, if you have something that you don't mind them kind of making a mess with, you can do that. I've heard of people putting them in high chairs, with a snack to get school done. I never found mine to be distracted long enough to get anything done really doing that. Let's see, what else? I did hear, I can't remember who it was, but if, like, you're needing to get your older one, let's say they need to do some independent reading and it just feels like the toddler keeps trying to sit in their lap or something, set up a pack and play, and don't put the toddler in the pack and play, put the reader, the older kid, in the pack and play, because they'll love it. They'll just lay out and hold their book, and then the toddler can't get to them. So that's an option, which I think that's kind of funny. We have not tried that, but it does sound like it might work. We would also do road schooling. So, if the toddler's strapped in the chair, then you could do some school with the older one. If you were parked somewhere and they weren't screaming, if they were content in the back, we would do that. Or for us, my mom lives right next door, so she could babysit for a little bit. So if I had at least one day a week where I felt like I could get push through a lot of school, we would try and do that. So that was super helpful during those toddler days. So anyways, I think I threw a lot of information at you. And I hope it was helpful. So again, for toddlers, it's be flexible, drop what needs to be dropped. Again, grace. Be creative with how you distract them. So either have an older sibling, babysit them for a little while, stick them in a high chair, put the older one in a pack and play, have special bins that they can play in. There's a lot of options in that area. The only problem I have found is that, again, their attention span is like minute, that it doesn't really last long enough. So, you know, being willing to school during their nap times and at bedtime is always a great option. I know you're kind of fighting your own tiredness at that time, so that's always a struggle as well. If you need to sleep, just sleep. Just sleep. And I'm telling that to myself as well, because sometimes I really I gotta do it. I gotta get this done. But just sleep if you need to sleep. And yeah, just remember that God, He leads us gently along with our young. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. And lastly, I wanted to share Matthew 9:13. One day, some parents brought their children to Jesus so He could lay His hands on them and pray for them. And remember, our great high priest, Jesus, He is always intercessing for us. So remember to pray for your children, pray for your babies and toddlers, and Jesus will intercess for you. If you're just having a really hard time during that homeschool period with these little ages, just pray to Jesus. Just give it to Him. Just put it at the cross, and He will intercess for you to the Father, and you will get through this time. And remember, suffering, I don't know if it's a time of suffering. Hard times builds endurance, which builds character, which gives us hope. So you will get through this season. I have gotten through this season many a time. You know, my youngest now is a toddler, but she's getting to almost that age 2, so it's getting a little easier. I'm hoping this year will be a little easier. Last year was really hard, trying, especially at the end of the year, to get school done. But with Christ, all things are possible, so don't give up. And I hope that this was helpful for you. And if you like this video, go check out the playlist. There's a bunch of other gals that are a part of this. Oh. This was one of the toddlers. Come here. What's your name?
Abby.
Abby. She once was a toddler, but now she's a big preschooler, huh? How old are you? 3. She's 3 years old. She's gonna be 4 soon. Oh, my babies are growing up too fast. All right. So thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you at the next video. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.